Yep, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop to look around once in a while, you could miss it. And I say this not because I give good kids bad ideas. I say this because not long ago, I made a full review video of the TidRadio TD-H3 combination GMRS and ham handheld walkie-talkie radio, which, just in case you were not aware, costs less than $35 of monies, and it is quickly becoming my favorite low-cost radio due to its low cost and advanced radiological features. Affiliate link below. And just to be clear, all of the TDH3 radios shown in this video were sent to me by the TidRadio Corporation at no cost to me, but at great cost to the TidRadio Corporation. Anyway, in the comments section of that previous video, there were so many questions and so many things about this radio that I failed to mention that I, in my far above average wisdom, decided to make a more in-depth follow-up video answering those questions and going over some of those items that I neglected to mention in that previous video. First of all, after my previous video about the TDH3, the TidRadio Corporation ran out of radios after less than 1 day and had to start pushing out shipping dates. So if you were a victim of my YouTube superstardom and had to wait for your TDH3 to ship, I apologize. Being a YouTube's superstar can sometimes be a curse. But just as Gandhi always said, if you snooze, you lose. However, I am happy to report that the he's and she's at the TidRadio Corporation have ramped up production at their largest child slave labor camp by offering a bonus of fewer daily beatings to any of the children willing to work throughout the night. And thanks to the hard labor and forced dedication of those children, the TDH3 is now back in stock and still starting at a price of less than only $35 of monies. Affiliate link below. Second of all, in the previous video, I mentioned that there were a few errors in the TDH3 user manual, and in response to my groundbreaking reporting in that video, the TidRadio Corporation spokeshole has assured me that those responsible for these mistakes has been corrected, and they are no longer a problem. Another thing from that previous video that I am not sure if I mentioned or not, I don't know, I don't really care, is that when switching the radio into normal mode or ham mode, which I will discuss more momentarily, but when in those modes, the radio can transmit on ham radio frequencies, even though this is technically a GMRS radio. Now, of course, I would never actually pull this trigger and transmit on the ham radio frequencies because I do not have a ham radio operator license. And if I were to actually do that on a ham radio without a license, that would be a violation of federal FCC's rules. But let not your heart be troubled, because of course I'm not really pushing the transmit trigger, and even if I was, there would be no way for anyone to actually know. Another thing that I failed to mention in that previous video is that the TDH3 is available in more flavors than just this color, which I cannot say without getting into trouble with the YouTubes. So the TidRadio Corporation sent me these very colorful versions of the TDH3 to remind everyone that if you do not like this color, then you are obviously a racist. But you can also get the TDH3 in other colors, such as this lovely shade of green and this beautiful shade of invisible, which, by the way, looks kind of cool in the dark. In that aforementioned video, I completely failed at my job as a YouTube's superstar by neglecting to mention that both the wrist strap and the belt clip are required if you want to impress the chicks while wandering around at the mall or at the park trying to look important. In that previous video, I also failed to demonstrate the flashlight, and some people made much screeching noises in the comments of that video regarding this failure on my part. So here's the fucking flashlight, you freaks. And in that previous video, I also did not do what is commonly referred to as a screen peel. But some random guy left a comment saying that that gag wasn't funny anymore. On that first video, many people commented that in other YouTube videos, some people have been making screeching sounds about spurious RF emissions from this radio. And so to address that, I would like to point out that if you care about spurious RF emissions, please go away and stop watching my videos, because my videos are for normal people, and normal people do not care about radio dork things like spurious RF emissions. This radio has been decreed as safe and effective for use by the FCCs, and that is all that I and any other normal person needs to worry about. And speaking of normal, this radio has 3 modes, and you can switch between those 3 modes by pressing the push-to-talk trigger and the star key at the same time whilst powering on the radio. And as you can see with your very own pupil holes, this presents you with 3 options: ham, GMRS, and normal. By default, the radio is in GMRS mode, which makes the radio function as a GMRS radio. Ham mode, as you may have guessed, makes the radio operate like a ham radio, and as I alluded to at the beginning of this video, in my previous video about this radio, I was unsure and conflicted over what normal mode was for. But thankfully, my loyal viewers have made use of the comment feature on that previous video, resulting in my enlightenment and deconfliction. The normal mode allows for transmitting on ham and GMRS and other frequencies, basically unlocking the radio and allowing the radio to transmit on a wide range of frequencies up to about 520 MHz. However, it is important to note that the RF electricities drops off dramatically the further away you get from the radio's intended frequency range of around 400 MHz. In my previous video, the radio that I tested was outputting under 4 watts, and many people in the comments reported higher output when they tested their radios. And I do not doubt this, because sometimes the soft, supple fingers of the child slave laborers get tired or calloused after working for 14 or 15 hours straight, so the radios often come out of the factory differently. Us radio experts refer to this by saying, every radio is special and different, like a unique snowflake. And indeed, when I tested some of my other TDH3 radios, I have 5 or 6 of them now, they were all outputting anywhere from 3.5 to 4.9 watts. However, I would like to point out that in normal use, you would never experience any difference in FARs when comparing 3.5 watts to 4 or 5 watts. Another thing that I should mention about the TidRadio TDH3 is that when you switch modes, any customizations that you have done on the radio get wiped out forever. And there has been much wailing and gnashing of teeth over this feature of the radio. But my friend, be not afraid, because verily I say unto you, to overcome this tribulation, all you have to do is connect the radio to your computer or your smartphone and save your settings for each different mode in Chirp or the OD Master app, and then just reload that file when you switch back to that mode. And speaking of using Chirp with this radio, I saw many posts circulating on the social medias that after using Chirp to make changes to the radio, the power level settings would get borked up. And after that happens to transmit on high, you have to set the radio to medium or something stupid like that. However, after careful testing by making changes to the radio with Chirp, I experienced no such issues, and the power output level remained the same. The power is always on high when set to high, and always on low when set to low, and the power levels never changed. I also saw comments proclaiming that on this radio you cannot manually add regular simplex channels to transmit on because they always save as receive-only channels. But I can confirm that I have not experienced that phenomenon. I am able to add regular simplex custom channels, and they work exactly as expected in both GMRS mode and in normal mode, and probably in ham mode as well. I should also point out that when using the Chirp softwares, there are 3 TDH3 options to choose from, and you must select the correct option based upon what mode the radio is currently in. Select TDH3 for when the radio is in normal mode. Select GMRS for when the radio is in GMRS mode, and ham is for, can you guess? Good job! If you try to upload or download from or to the radio after selecting the incorrect mode, you will be greeted with an error to let you know that you are doing it wrong. And speaking of lies, stupidity, and misinformation on the social medias, Xenu, forget them, for they know not what they do, nor what the fuck they are talking about. I have seen several claims that the NOAA weather channels did not come pre-programmed on this radio, and clearly whoever was making these claims has neither touched one of these radios or boobies. Because as you can see, out of the box, in GMRS mode at least, the NOAA channels are right there. I have also seen claims that the USB-C's hole on the side of the radio is better for charging the battery, saying that it charges the battery faster. And this is a lie. To charge the battery, you must connect your USB-C's cable to the USB-C's hole on the battery. The USB-C's hole on the side of the radio is for data, not for electricities. In my first video about the TDH3, I said that I do not think the Scrambler feature on this radio is compatible with FCC's rules. And of course, a few of the online legal experts took time out of their shift at Arby's and left comments decreeing that using the Scrambler feature of these radios is perfectly legal on GMRS. However, FCC's Part 95 rules, specifically Part 95.1733 Subpart 3, lists coded messages or messages with hidden meanings as a prohibited use, which to me, in my interpretation, means that the FCC's does not like the Scrambler feature being used on GMRS. But allow me to be clear that I am not a lawyer, and you should never take legal advice from a simple YouTube hobo, such as myself, or from some clown leaving comments on videos. So what I am saying is, if the FCC's doesn't care and refuses to enforce any of the GMRS rules, why would anyone else care? In my previous video, I mentioned that to avoid confucculation, I prefer to turn off dual watch mode because I prefer simpleton mode, which offers a less confucculative screen. However, if you do choose to use dual watch mode, which is listed as sync in the menu system, you will be rewarded with even more confuccularity by being able to make use of the dual push-to-talk triggers here and here. And I have heard rumors, although I cannot confirm these rumors, that the chicks dig it when they see you double finger the radio in this way. One of the things that makes this radio so desirable to many people is the frequency scan mode, which can be enabled by pressing and holding the number 1 key. And one question that was asked about the frequency scan mode is if the radio can scan frequencies other than ham or GMRS, such as frequencies used by key fobs. And the answer is yes, this radio can scan frequencies other than just ham or GMRS. However, it cannot scan or pick up frequencies outside of what it is designed to receive, meaning nothing above around 520 MHz. So what I am saying is, no, you cannot use this radio to steal cars. A big feature of this radio is that it is firmware upgradable. You can very easily see what version of firmware your radio currently has by going into menu option number 42. And as you can see, this radio came with firmware version 240401. And the most current version available, as of this recording, is 240427. And that update allows you to enter frequencies as low as 18 MHz. It addresses an issue with the repeater squelch tail that many radio dorks were screeching about online, and it has several other changes that I do not care about. Please come close as I begin my sermon on firmware upgrades. Move closer to your screen. Closer, and allow me to deploy one of my world-famous wisdom facials. Updating the firmware on any handheld walkie-talkie radio can be a very dangerous activity. And this is because if anything goes wrong during said update, and with a $30 radio, things often do go wrong, the result can be a very fancy-looking $30 brick. But verily I say unto you, wipe off your face, because if you do not need to update your firmware, and by that I mean that if the firmware update does not fix something specific that you actually care about or actually need, then it just might be a wise idea to skip it. Because just like Confucius always said, if it ain't broke, don't break it, dumbass. As you can see by the small trademarked blue teeth icon, this radio allows you to program it via your phone using the OD Master app. But many people have asked if you can also connect earbuds or a headset to the radio via those blue teeths. And the answer to that question is that if you can, I am not able to figure out how to do it. However, as many people have pointed out in the comments on my videos and on the social medias and pretty much everywhere, I am not very smart. So if you know otherwise, please leave detailed instructions on how to connect this radio to other Bluetooth devices in the comments section below or to the side. And speaking of programming the radio via the Bluetooths using the OD Master app, another great feature that I did not really mention in my other video is that using the OD Master app, you can find and automatically program repeaters into your radio. You simply open the OD Master app, connect to your phone, click on the repeaters button, find the repeater that you wish to use, tap the import button, select what channel you want to save that repeater to, and bam! Your repeater is programmed. However, at this time it appears that only ham repeaters show up in the list, no GMRS repeaters, but I am sure that the hard-working programmers at the TidRadio Corporation are hard at work on engineering a solution to list GMRS repeaters. Probably. This radio does even more, but I truly believe that between this video and my previous video, I have gone over pretty much everything that I care about. However, if I have still neglected something that you care about, please put it in the comments so that I can put it in my next video about this radio.